Hi everyone, welcome back to Grow Roots. This is Shannon and this is my daughter Maya, and welcome to the October 2024 Front Garden Tour. All right, so here we are. I do apologize. It has been quite a while. Life has been pretty crazy and it's now past mid-October and I'm just now getting to the front garden tour. I've usually posted quite a few things for you so far in these months, but this month has been really crazy. This weekend is crazy as well. So I'm trying to shorten the length of today's video a little bit because I have lots and lots of things that I need to do after this. So just wanted to show y'all what the garden is looking like in mid to late October in 2024. There are some new things and honestly some things, new things I picked up that I just put in, and so we'll talk about all of it. But I'm going to start with this corner over here today actually, and I don't know if y'all remember, but I used to have a 3-tier planter there. It is no longer. It was getting really rusted. The bottom was falling through. It didn't appear that way, I think, on camera, but when you get up close, you figure out like this thing is not going to last very much longer. And so this is my birthday month, and my husband took me to Green Acres, and I, always find things that I want for my birthday at Green Acres. He's like, yeah, let's get that. That's for your birthday. Okay. But I fell in love with this topiary, and it's an Arizona cypress. I believe it's the Carolina, I'm going to pop the name of it on the screen, some Carolina something cypress, and it is a native of southwest New Mexico in dry conditions, the desert. I really wanted something evergreen. I'm always looking for more evergreen things to add to the garden so that in the winter when everything kind of peters out, the perennials are gone, the annuals mostly are gone, I want something of interest, and this is going to do that for me for sure. This is a conifer, and it's really hard to get conifers in Texas because of the heat that we endure in the summertime. But the Arizona cypress, again, native to desert conditions, it does really well in heat and drought tolerant and all of those things. So yeah, let's get a closer look. This blue-green foliage is just to die for. And honestly, it has a really, really kind of cool scent. It's, to me, it smells a little bit like pine, a little bit like cedar, like a mixture of some really, really nice earthy scents. It's actually really, really cool. And, I do have a video about that. Go ahead and watch it because I do have some concerns about this being here in this spot and this being topiaried, and I talk about all of those concerns in my video. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and click and watch that video. But hopefully this will be a beautiful statement in my yard for, I'm hoping, at least 5 to 10 years that I'll be able to do this here in that location, and I just absolutely love it. Coming down here, I have my Laia PE all around here, and it's kind of coming out of bloom. Let's see if I can find a bloom here. This is one of its blooms, but that's probably the very last one. It did bloom a little bit for me. It didn't bloom as much as I hoped it would. This is just its first year in the ground. It's almost exactly 1 year in the ground at this point, but I just love the texture that it provides right there in that little garden space. And then I just honestly picked these up. I intended to pick these up for my backyard garden and then to put in some containers and things, and I'll show you which containers in the back, containers out here. But then getting ready for this garden tour, I didn't want to just have flats of flowers here without being able to showcase them. So I just popped some around this. I have like a little bit of bare space around this container, and wow, I really, really like it there. So I think I might be planting these things. I have little violas there. These are yellow. I have some Dusty Miller that's left over from You'll see the front of my garden space that I planted some Dusty Miller again. I have some Dianthus right here. I have more Dusty Miller, and then I have some beautiful little purple violas, and I just picked those up at Walmart. Like, they were $3.48 for 4 of them or 6 of them. I think it's 4 of them, but less than $1 per plant. And I think those look really, really nice under there. I've got my little grasshopper. I moved him. I got this from my friend Stacy. She allowed me to do a garden tour in the spring, and y'all absolutely loved her garden. Hopefully we will be able to get into Stacy's garden for more tours in the future, but that little grasshopper is from her. It's so, so sweet. And then behind this topiary in this space, I have black-eyed Susan vine as well as morning glory. And honestly, jasmine is in here as well. But the black-eyed Susan vine is finally blooming. Look at those gorgeous little blooms. And the vine is a little bit tired. You can see it's starting to kind of, get tired and show us some brown leaves, but this is also when it's blooming the best, which is very interesting. I don't know if y'all can see, let me back up a little bit, but all of the blooms are more concentrated up there because those are the newer parts of the vine, and it's in its glory right now that the temperatures are cooling down. So now that I know black-eyed Susan vine it's heat tolerant, but it's not going to bloom for you in the heat, not really. And if you want it to bloom, it needs to be cooler. But we have had quite a warm early fall for sure. We've still been in the 80s and then in the 90s, but we've been cooling down at night. And so that's the temperatures, honestly, that the black-eyed Susan vine loves. So if you're in California where it's kind of like that all the time, or maybe up north a little bit where you do get hot in the summer 80s and 90s, but it cools down to the 60s at night, you can grow this and get these flowers all year round. But here in Texas, these guys are not going to bloom in the extreme heat that we have, but they will be blooming in the fall. So, and if you get a mature plant, I'm sure it would be blooming in the spring too. But these guys were just little seedlings in the springtime because I grew them from seed. And then I have more of them planted along here. The interesting thing, you can see this vine, this is again black-eyed Susan vine, morning glory. It's one of each. And this does not look nearly as good as this. This is planted in the ground. It's planted right down there. And then this is planted in a container. And the container, I've had some issues trying to keep that container. For whatever reason, that irrigation that I have hooked up to that particular container, it's a little bit too much for it. And then if I change it, it's too little. And so I've had a hard time trying to keep the right amount of moisture in that container. And this plant, you can see that they're just not like super happy with the conditions that they're in that container. So, but I mean, they bloom prolifically right now. And I've also got the morning glory blooming, whereas the morning glory here is not blooming, but I saw it bloom in the summertime when it was hotter. It's just so interesting. Different plants react in different ways in different conditions, and it's just that's gardening, right? Totally. But I love the look of those coming down, and they were an espalier trellis. They're both on an espalier trellis, but the vines got so prolific at one point that I couldn't even keep them on that. Like, it's just covering the entire space. So that was my vision for this year. I would say that I accomplished what I wanted for sure. I absolutely love that look. I love that they're blooming now. That was my vision. I'm super, super happy. Am I gonna do it again next year? I'm not sure. I've had the experience, but I do love it. I will grow black-eyed Susan vine next year. I'm just not sure where I'm going to grow it. I'm not going to grow it in all of the locations that I did this year. In the backyard, you'll see when I do my backyard garden tour. It's coming up next weekend. The vines are crazy back there. But I do absolutely love them. Moving on to this part of my front entrance, my front garden, we have our silly goose that's always here. I have some pumpkins that are here. Here is a super Tunia that has lasted all season long, and it is super Tunia bubblegum. So yeah, they Wow, what a rock star. I've cut this back several times. It's still kind of icky slash dead, like where it's planted, but as it's spilling over, all of this new stuff that's growing is so great. So I absolutely love that. I'm not going to do a lot of Super Tunias next year. I spent quite a bit on all the different varieties of Super Tunias because I wanted to test them. This is kind of, you know, my first year doing all of the Super Tunias, and I've learned that they really do not do well here in Texas. I'm sorry. They do really well in the spring. They die. They don't do well in the extreme heat that we have, and it's because we don't cool off. We get to like, our low is 85 degrees in the summertime, and they do not like that. But the Super Tunia bubblegum is one of the fiercest Super Tunias out there, and yes, it will survive. And all of this new growth is nice and green, but the old growth is just not great. It's so tired. Of course it's tired. It's been around since really, really early spring, like April, maybe even late March when I got them. So it's done, but I just love it. It's, you know, it's a beautiful pop of color even now in fall. So I'm so happy that that kind of survived. I picked up a Sweet William. They're in the nurseries right now, and I just love this plant so much. I hope since it's blooming, it'll survive for me. But for me, growing it from seed was my experience, and it stays evergreen in the wintertime and then blooms like this its second year. And then it's biennial, so it might die after the second year, which makes me think like these might die. But I picked them up anyway. I really do hope that I can keep these guys alive and get them blooming next spring. We'll just have to see, because they're blooming now in the fall, which is not, you know, because they were in the nursery, probably in greenhouses or whatever. Yeah, I have no idea how they got them to bloom now, but absolutely beautiful. I picked up a couple of those, one up here and one in my backyard, and I'm going to be planting it. This actually probably could even be separated. This is like 3 or 4 different plants, but I'm going to be putting those into the landscape too. Over here into the garden, I have, yeah, they're struggling too, aren't they? I've got a real big problem with whitefly. So if you see lots of speckles on the leaves and stuff like that, we are struggling with whitefly big time. And honestly, the only thing I'm doing to treat the whitefly right now is spraying it with like heavy spray and trying to get them away, and doing that like on a nightly basis. But it's so far, we're like 1 month away, less than a month away from our first frost date. So, you know, all of that will kind of disappear. But these are Super Bina Sparkling Amethyst, and they did not bloom for me all that well in the heat, but they are blooming very well and spreading. Actually, like, this is one plant, I've got it spread over here, and then can you see that? It's spread all the way over there. It's just so cool how it does that. But I really do love Super Binas, and they don't perform as well for me, and I think it's because of the North Texas heat, but now they're kind of thriving. So I've got some dianthus planted over there as well. It's doing awesome, and even, you know, it's given me some blooms. This is May Night Salvia. It's a whole like big drift all around this container. I love it. It's given me a couple new blooms, if you see that. This blooms all season long for me. I have a huge flush of blooms in the spring, and then it blooms sporadically all throughout the year. It's also, like, for me, it's quite a ground cover. It loves to spread around on the ground. This is a full sun location. Like, there's some blooms that you guys can see. But anyway, May Night Salvia for me is a salvia that you could use for ground cover. At least that's the way it performs in my garden, which is fine, totally fine. There's always needs for ground cover, right? Right here is my Sunshine Ligustrum hedge. This is the evergreen interest statement for my front garden, at least. This will remain this way throughout the winter time. They're quite woolly right now. I did have to trim them back, and like in the heat of the summer, and so that's why you see a little bit of the brown on the top. But in the winter time, I'm glad I kind of kept them full, because in the winter they will kind of die back and thin out just a little bit depending on how cold we're gonna get. But this is the most amazing shrub, Sunshine Ligustrum. I had one person comment once that this is a trash plant. It's going to revert back to green, that he's a landscaper and will never ever use it because it's trash. I'm here to disagree. I have quite a few Sunshine Ligustrum, as do many of my neighbors and lots of people in North Texas. And my experience with it, as well as everybody else's, because I look, is that when you keep Sunshine Ligustrum in full sun, it will remain yellow. Like these are 5 or 6 years old, and look how bright yellow that is. When they're planted in the shade, they are more of a green color. And I'll show you on the other side, there's some Sunshine Ligustrum underneath my Vitex tree, and it is more green. And so my experience is, if Sunshine Ligustrum turns green on you, it doesn't have enough sun. It needs sun to turn yellow. And it's the most amazing plant, heat tolerant, drought tolerant. You can prune it anytime you want and it'll bounce right back. It goes through our winters. It stays evergreen. It's just absolutely beautiful. Yellow in the winter. Like, I don't know what more you could want from a shrub, honestly. And you know, I can't believe he would call it a trash, but it's okay. Coming back around over here, I have taken out my summer annuals. They were super Tunias and verbena. Those didn't last very long, so I popped those out and put in my Dreamland series zinnia, which are supposed to be a low growing zinnia. They just did not do as well. I don't know. Like I said, I thought something was probably happening on this front because I haven't had great experience this year. So they're gone. The zinnias are gone now. I made a beautiful bouquet out of them. I'll pop a picture of that. So they were blooming when I took them out, but now it is time for the pansies. I will do pansies every single year here because I absolutely love them. They are one of my favorite plants. And these are Matrix Ocean pansies. So there's a mix of some purples, blues, and whites, and I just think they're absolutely beautiful. So I've got a whole row of these. I got a flat for $22.50 at Green Acres. I still had a few left over, so this is 18 plants. Well, here is 15 plants. I had 3 left over. And then there were Dusty Miller, big Dusty Miller from last year that were planted all along here. I took them out. I prefer the look of the smaller Dusty Miller here. I don't want it getting too super big. So there, and quite a few of them had died. And so they were kind of sporadic back here. So I did take them out. I've planted them in other locations and given some away, but I do have a brand new row of Dusty Miller all over there, and it will make a fabulous backdrop to the pansies, which will thrive. They'll get a little bit of growth while it's still warm and not freezing. And then once we start getting our first frost, they're going to kind of stop growing, but they'll still bloom. And then when we get like snow or ice, they will stop blooming for a little while and then start blooming again, even in the freezing. And then in the springtime, they'll just explode. So they're just an awesome plant for us here in Texas in the wintertime. And I love putting them. For me, it's absolutely worth $22.50. I mean, to me, it's like, well, does someone send you flowers for probably triple that amount and you get to enjoy them for maybe a week to 2 weeks, whereas I spend a third of that and I get to enjoy this from fall through spring. So I think it's absolutely worth it. Again, there's that May night salvia that kind of goes around back there. And right here is my Limelight Standard Hydrangea, and it is in a pot. It used to be up there right on the side of my steps, but now it is too large to keep there because otherwise we wouldn't even be able to walk to our front door. And yeah, so it's petered out, you know. The tops of them are brown. The bottoms are, this is the way it would be if we didn't get like scorching heat. We've been, like I said, we've been in the high 80s, the 90s. It's finally starting to cool off a little bit to where it's in the 80s during the day. But yeah, these are kind of burnt. I'm not going to clip these off quite yet. Now, you guys could leave these until it's time to prune in late fall, early winter, and I might do that. Or you could just go ahead right now. They're done, and clip them right about here, and then leave those. You'll want to prune in late winter, early spring, but if you don't like the look of that, you could just go ahead and clip just the bloom heads off, and it would be just fine. But I trained this Limelight Standard myself. I mean, it's not completely perfectly straight, but I have tried, and to me, it was worth saving that money because they are quite expensive. But I love this. I think it's a statement piece right here in this part of the garden, and it's doing really well in this full sun. So I'm happy about that. Now in here, you're going to see there's things that are still in their containers, and it's because, like I said, I picked up a whole bunch of stuff from Walmart, planning on planting them in just various locations all throughout my gardens. But I figured since I haven't had time to plant them yet, I'll just pop them in, and look how pretty that is. Anyway, so these are violas back there, dianthus here, and I have a couple of those matrix pansies, the extra ones over there as well. I'm gonna be planting some in here because there is room. Yeah, so I just haven't had the time to do it. So we get the look of these nice lush plants. It does look absolutely beautiful. So moving on into this part of the garden is my perennial part of the garden. So I have, again, the May-Night Salvia there. I want it to fill in around that plant, and I think that's perfect. I have a peach colored daylily here that's, oh my gosh, I need to divide this. This is amazing. This was a baby. So I had one peach daylily last year, and then the one that I put over here is its baby. So this was one baby, and in 1 year, I could probably split that into at least 3 or 4 plants. It's pretty cool. And then another May-Night Salvia there. I think I'm going to take that out and put a Sweet William there. So I have Sweet William on both sides of my bird bath. I think that will be absolutely beautiful. And then this is Salvia Greggi. It's a hot pink colored one. I don't remember the exact name of it. I don't know if I love it. I think I'm going to keep it 1 more year because it is so heat tolerant and drought tolerant. And I do love the little hot pink pops of color that it gives me. But we'll try it for 1 more year. I don't like how it gets all thin in the middle, but that is kind of neat how it's just all these little pops of hot pink. I don't know. Tell me what y'all think. I don't know, but I do kind of like it, and in other ways I don't like it. So, that you can see the little pops of Superbena. Sparkling amethyst back there. Again, that's just one plant that has kind of spread. It is a marginal plant for us. It goes down to zone 8, I think. So I'm going to see if this one survives our winter and comes back for me in the spring. That would be quite amazing. Back here, I have another daylily, and it's a red daylily. This is its first year in the ground. Again, I can see that I could probably split that up into 3 or 4 different daylilies if I wanted to. So that's super cool. And then coming around here, this is one balloon flower plant, and you can see that I staked up all of these stems because I just had all of these stems coming up of beautiful balloon flower. That reminds me, actually, okay, I already know what I'm gonna do. I bought another balloon flower early in the spring, and it's been growing in a container in my backyard, and the plan for that balloon flower was to put it here. So that I have balloon flower on both sides. So that's probably what I'm going to do. And maybe what I'll do is plant my 2 Sweet Williams here next to the daylily, and then here next to the balloon flower. I'm not sure, because this is a part sun location. So the Sweet William may not like that. Or I may put I do have a little bit of a blank area on both sides back there. So actually that's probably what I'll do. I'll put a Sweet William here and a Sweet William there, and then balloon flower, these beautiful purple blooms all over here. And then hopefully the other balloon flower will catch up to this one, because this one's ginormous. It's small right now, but I'll pop that there, and hopefully they'll balance each other out, so that I got 2 balloon flowers there with purple blue blooms, and then 2 Sweet Williams there with beautiful pink blooms in the spring. That will be lovely. And then over here, this is where I planted one of my Dusty Millers. So it's a kind of a blank spot, and there's a white irrigation thing popping up there. So I think that's going to do really well there. It's kind of a part sun location, and Dusty Miller can definitely take that. But it's just so funny that you buy these as an annual, and they start off like this. It's so cute. And then in 1 year, it looks like that. That's one plant, and it's huge. So yeah, it's just a neat plant. I think it will lose that white because of a little bit of a lack of sun there. It'll be more like this green icy color, but that's totally fine by me. And I put 2 more of them here. So these got so big, I had to cut them back to make room for other things. And then when I took them out, you know, they're still alive. They're growing their foliage back, and I'm just popping them in right there. Again, this is a part sun location. I have a hard time getting things to grow there, so I think the Dusty Miller will be perfect. And then I have some, these were annual dianthus last year, and they've been in the ground for an entire year. They got a little bit of compost on them when I planted these Dusty Miller, but look how beautiful they are. They're just, and again, that's a part sun location too. We're shaded by the Vitex tree here, and I'm going to take this branch off so that we're not like super shaded here. But anyway, that's what's going on over here. I have another daylily as well. That's the original daylily, and interestingly enough, this one isn't as prolific as its baby is, and it's because, again, you know, it's a part sun location. The Vitex tree has kind of taken over on this side. So and I have another Salvia Greggi right there as well. And then coming over here is all shade under here because of the Vitex tree. So I've got, this is our garden sheep. We named him Lambo. And I've got, actually, this is one verbena that it's a purple verbena, not sparkling amethyst though, from Callaway's, and it survived from early spring, so I kind of left it, but it's, you know, it's tired. I'm going to leave it and see if it overwinters for me, and if it does, and if it's still okay in that location, maybe I'll keep it, but I don't know. We'll see. But this ground cover that you see here is Vinca Major, and I have that growing all throughout. I just absolutely love it. I love the variegated leaves, and it can stay in this part. It's totally fine as a ground cover over here. I just don't want it in the rest of my garden bed, but you can see it all back there around the hydrangea and around the tree. So coming around, let me show you this Vitex tree. It is out of bloom, complete. Oh no, I've got a few blooms right over there. But yeah, just an amazing tree, to be honest. It's huge. It's not one of the dwarf varieties, that's for sure. If I had to do it over again, I would have put one of the dwarf varieties in this location because it's trying to take over my garden bed. So what I figured out when I dug up all of my zinnias and stuff here is that the Vitex tree is sending roots all through here. And I think that might be what's going on potentially with the plants that are struggling or seem to be struggling in this location. So I took out a lot of the Vitex roots. They were traveling really heavily right against this stone right here, and then all throughout there. So I took a lot of them out when I planted these guys this week, and hopefully we won't have a whole lot of issues. We'll just have to see. Last year the Pansies and Dusty Miller thrived, so we'll see what happens this year. But going back to the Vitex tree, as big as it is, and they do get kind of messy with these are the seeds that are formed from the blooms. These will drop everywhere. I haven't had them really create a whole lot of seedlings. I've had a couple seedlings I've pulled out, but not a whole lot. And I will say this, the pollinators love this plant so much. We just had the monarchs come through, and there's still a couple of them that are coming through our area as they migrate down to Mexico. And I have all of these butterfly attracting plants, right? Especially in my backyard. I have Greg's Mist Blue Flower, or Greg's Mist Flower. I have, you know, just all kinds of plants that, you know, zinnias, and I have just everything. And this is what they go for. This is what the monarchs go for. I see them coming from the Back Creek area. They fly over my roof. They go straight to this Vitex tree. They absolutely love it. So I had quite a few monarchs at any given time when the monarchs were coming through heavily. They love these purple blooms. That's for sure. So I love this plant because it's full of bees. In the summertime, it's full of pollinators. They absolutely love it. So it does a really good thing for the pollinators in our area. Coming over here, I have some Burgundy Glow Ajuga. Oh, there's something that's disguising itself as Burgundy Glow Ajuga that I need to take care of. I don't want to do that without gloves on because it's pokey, but I need to take care of that weed. But yeah, it's filling in as a ground cover really nicely here. And then here is my lovely hydrangea. I told y'all earlier, I keep saying it almost every garden tour, that if y'all leave your hydrangea blooms on the plant, they will turn maroon as fall comes. And here they are. They're pink right now, and I absolutely love them. Some of them are crispy, and I did get rid of the crispy blooms, but the blooms that are not crispy turn this beautiful pink color. And I just absolutely love it. Now, one thing that's not happening yet that was happening this time last year is the leaves will also turn like this magenta color. But we just haven't gotten cold enough yet for that to happen. They will in this next, for my November garden tour, you're going to see the maroon, these will get a deeper maroon color, and then the leaves are going to start turning. You can see they're starting already. That's not fungal or an infection. This is just what's going to happen. The leaves are going to turn this color. They're going to be absolutely beautiful. But this is an endless summer hydrangea. It is, goodness, I don't know anymore. Maybe 7 or 8 years old in there. And I just absolutely love it. It is a statement in my garden, and it gets shade in there. It gets a little bit of dappled afternoon sun, to be honest, and there are parts of it that will scorch. I think this one did. This branch died, and that's okay. We do get that with hydrangeas. There are some branches that are just going to die off, and you just cut them back and you get new branches every single spring, so it's no big deal. And in the fall, like I said, I enjoy these just as much in the fall as I do in the springtime when they're blooming their pink/blue blooms. So just beautiful, beautiful plant. And then more vinca is growing underneath that. Okay, so admittedly, it is actually in the evening. I had no time to finish filming this because our weekend is just so jam-packed. But here we are in the evening, and really we are almost done. I just wanted to give you the full view of that front garden. I will do a separate container garden tour just to show y'all really quick. I think it's looking pretty good, actually. I've shown you some of these, but I have a lot more containers on my porch, including this lovely stand right here. So I will do a separate container garden tour. Stay tuned for that. Hopefully it'll get posted in October, y'all. I am so busy this month. It's crazy. But, those little black-eyed Susans are just doing so well. I do have 2 containers that I will show you because in my opinion, they are part of my garden, but they just happen to be in containers. These are 2 containers of Mystic Spires Blue salvia. And yes, they're still going strong. These guys have been going strong since early spring. I bought them as little tiny baby plants, and now they're huge. They overpowered all of the other plants that they were planted with. And this one's not, it's, you know, it's tired. It's more tired than the other one, but there's still tons of bees over here. I don't know if you can see them or hear them. There's still pollinators. And look how sweet like these little petals are with the little white streaks in them. I just absolutely love the Mystic Spires Blue Salvia. It may come back for me, potentially. If it doesn't, I will buy 2 more and put them in that spot because it is just stunning. So I love this view of my garden. It is exactly what I had hoped for this time of year, really truly, and I just absolutely love it. I hope you all enjoyed it. I just want to thank you so much for joining me, and if you like what you saw, please hit that subscribe button. No matter what, I post front garden tours and back garden tours every single month because for me, they help me to know what's going on in my garden and to document it and learn from it and try new things and all of that. So yeah, go ahead and subscribe and you'll see all of the things all throughout the year. But thank you all so much. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.